the video lesson for the sheet Spin the Paradiddle, which you should have in your email. I will tell you now that I've noticed that I made an error on page 2, section B, the third line. The fill, the sticking is correct, but the drums you're supposed to play it on is not correct. So it won't affect, you can still play the exercises and everything will be fine, but it just doesn't follow the exact structure of the exercise on page 2 in terms of what notes are supposed to be played on which drums. So I will eventually correct the sheet and get it sent out, but for now it won't affect what we're going to do today. I'm looking at 2 cameras, so if my eyes are away from the camera, I apologize, because I'll be also looking at the sheet music. But you're going to be mainly looking at the overhead cam so you can see where my hands are going, because especially in this sheet we're doing a lot of moving around the drums. So what's going on in this sheet? It's called Spin the Paradiddle because every fill is based on paradiddles, and with each successive line of the sheet you start your set of paradiddles one note later. So for example, if the paradiddle is right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, you spin the paradiddle on the next line to left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, and then so on. Right, right, left, right, left, left, left. So it keeps shifting by 1/8 note. And so your hands, if they weren't thinking about time, your hands are doing the same thing every time. I mean, every fill has the same motion of the hands. It just depends on where you're starting that set of hand motions from. So we call it Spin the Paradiddle. So I'm going to play the first few examples of section A and section B, and then show you a variation that you can apply to both of them. The beat on the left side, on the first bar of each line, is the same beat for all 8 versions, 8 lines on sheet A, and it's a new beat, but it's the same beat for all of the bars on sheet B, or section B. It's written as 1 beat, 1 bar of a beat, 1 bar of a fill. You're more than welcome to play 3 bars of the beat and then play the fill, or 7 bars of the beat and then play the fill. Like, create phrases that you might do in a song, 4-bar phrases, 8-bar phrases, 16-bar phrases with a 1-bar fill at the end. You could be more creative and say the beat for a bar, then play the fill on bar 2, and then play the beat for 2 more bars to make your 4-bar phrase. You can do anything you want with it in terms of that, but the main idea is that each fill is the same sounds and the same motion, just shifted in time by 1/8 note. So section A, the core bass fill, is right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So the para of the paradiddle is on the snare drum, and the diddle is on the floor tom in your right hand, or the high tom in your left hand. Paradiddle, paradiddle. The next fill, just if you're thinking in syllables or the words paradiddle, paradiddle, the next fill is essentially radiddle, paradiddle, par. If that makes any sense. So if you think of it as a word, we're starting it from the second syllable of the word. Here we go. I'm going to play the first 4 lines of section A. And I'm going to practice slowly and count out loud. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Repeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Next line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 So you get the idea. The following 4 more lines are simply the next shifts or spins of that paradiddle. Looking at section B, or the second sheet, the beat is slightly different. 1 less note in the bass drum, so the beat is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which can be tricky because we're so used to putting the bass drum on 1s and 3s. It can be a strange feeling to not put the bass drum where you always think it should be. But that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, because we don't want to play by stringing together habits, because there should be no habits in music. It should always be creative and inspired, and whatever your beat you're playing, it should be the right beat for the song. So sometimes the song doesn't want the bass drum on beat 3, or the riff your guitar player is playing, or anything like that. So you want to be open to that, and you want to have the technical capability of playing any beat that you hear to be the best beat for the music. Now, the fill. The fills on sheet B. The hand patterns are identical. Still paradiddles. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. But the core beat, the first beat we're starting with, the core fill, the first fill we're starting with, and then that we will spin, uses different voicing of those hands for the paradiddle. So instead of it being para on the snare and diddle on the tom-toms, we're now going to have the para on the tom-toms and the diddles on the snare drum. So the fill sounds like this. Para, diddle, para, diddle. Now, that shouldn't be any harder than the other fill from sheet A, but I find it is. I think what makes it hard is the moving between 2 drums in single strokes. In the other fill, we get to stay on the snare drum for the single strokes. Right, left, left. Now we have to go right, left, right, left, right. So while the hands are doing the same thing, the placement around the kit is a little more involved. The third line of this one is the one that is the mistake. It's actually just a repeat of the fill from the third line of section A. So forgive me for that, and I will update the sheet. I wouldn't skip it. I would just play it as is, but remember that it's not following the correct notation. I will attempt to demonstrate it using the correct notation. So I'll play the corrected version so that when you do get a new sheet, you'll hear me playing along to the sheet as it should be, not as it is right now. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Repeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Next line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And this one I'm going to play different than the sheet. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Next line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Second last line I just played the fourth line twice. The first time through the fourth line, I played it incorrectly. I started on the floor tom instead of the snare drum. So I'm going to do line 4 of sheet B one more time, twice through, just to Make sure we have a proper version. I don't mind making mistakes in the videos because, as you know, in your lessons, I'm always telling you that mistakes are okay and mistakes are part of how we learn. And I will continue to make mistakes until long after I even stop drumming, which I hope is never a day that happens. But mistakes are part of learning and mistakes are part of growing. So this was a very minor mistake on my part. Maybe I shouldn't have made it, but it's a chance to tell you once again that mistakes are okay. You always get a chance to redo them, and if you make them in the music, they disappear once they're heard. So here we go. Line 4, section B, doing it one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I hope you can see that by shifting this paradiddle, we get some really interesting fills that we might not have thought of otherwise if we were just thinking about playing around, going right, left, or right, left. But by taking this pattern of the paradiddle and looking at it from all these different perspectives, we get all of these melodic ideas, and they have a different feeling against the time. Playing the floor tom on 1 and versus on 1 and 2 feels very different in the music, and it drives the music in a different way. So, have fun with this, playing it as written. Now I want to show you a variation you can do. So I'll just do it with the first line of each one. When we get to the fill bar, you're going to play it as 16th notes, which means you get to play the fill bar twice. So for the first line, I'm going to play the beat for 1 bar. Then when I get to the fill, I'm going to read it. I know it's written in 8th notes, but I'm going to think of it as 16th notes and play it twice. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 1. I'll do one more. I'll do the second one so you can just hear how the shifting of the paradiddle, the spinning of the paradiddle has an even greater effect at a faster speed. And when you get to do it twice in 1 bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1. I just counted to 1, 2, 1. I can count to 4. I'm going to prove it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 1. So it sounds really neat when you shift the paradiddle and play it at double the speed. I'll just demonstrate with the first 2 of section B. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 3. Here we go again. 1 and 2 and 4 and 1. Next line. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. I did the counting again weird. 3 and Second line of B. I tried to talk and play at the same time. Never works. Second line of B. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That wasn't right. There we go. Mistakes. 1 and second line of B. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. There we go. 2 and 3 and 1 more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I might have played that wrong. I before it should have been a snare drum. It's okay. Uh, Hopefully you'll do better than I do and correct that mistake before you make it. But if you make the mistake, cool. I look forward to talking about this in your lesson. Have fun with it and keep counting and practice slowly.